The only people who don't want to disclose the truth are people with something to hide.
Please say good morning and welcome back to 710 KNUS. He was sick last week. Mike Volin joins us. Hey, Mike, good morning and welcome back to Denver. Thanks for coming back on the show.
Thanks for having me back, Peter.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. Give folks a quick bio of yourself, and then let's move to the topic.
Great. I'm an ordinary person. 2008, we started the website, Where's Obama's Birth Certificate.com, because we had questions that just weren't being answered. And as the election neared for the first election, it became apparent they were trying to hide everything and anything they could about Obama, because if you asked the question, you got it was a typographical error. He didn't mean to say that. We had no idea where this man came from, Peter. He popped up like a jack in the box. There's very limited knowledge about him. He was a U.S. Senator for some 160 some odd days. No real background, 3-4 different aliases. The more questions we asked, the less answers we got. And, I know that Fox News was at that at the beginning, then they eventually gave up when they pushed him in office.
What seems to be the case at Fox, at least now, is Karl Rove. Again, I just try and read between the lines and behind the curtain. Karl Rove looks like he's become the de facto news director of Fox News, and that allows for anything and everything that doesn't, well, it has to fit the Karl Rove perspective of life. But having said that, I don't think there's anybody in the country today that isn't aware of the fact that Barack Obama's life story, with, I'm sure, some exceptions, that his life story just doesn't add up.
No, none of it adds up. Yeah. I mean, there's so many falsehoods about it. That narrative he did with his made-up girlfriend, everything, and he lies about everything. So why should we believe who he says he is? And you know, Peter, over the years, as my website evolved, we're now focused on Sheriff Kit. I've come to the conclusion that he may not even know his true past.
That's a great question. You know, the other morning, and to see if we can dig this out of the archives, he was speaking at this gathering of supporters of illegal immigration. See, Case, can we still have that cut where he said people think I'm an illegal immigrant, and then he laughs at it, and his crowd, obviously, he's preaching to the choir. They get a laugh out of it, and it gave me some. We got it. Let me let you listen to this. For everybody in the audience, this was a week ago. This was the president.
On the other side, not necessarily. They're pretty sure I'm an illegal immigrant, and that was a joke.
Yeah. Okay. You know, I listened to so much, and I found that cut. And it always leads me, I mean, of course, you know, I don't know who this guy is, and it's also much a part of watching his decisions. I don't think that we can really understand the decisions he makes domestically or foreign policy decisions unless we know who he is, which I think would explain so much of his life. But the fact that he actually made that as a joke, and no one ever thought he was an illegal alien. I mean, that's never been a theme anywhere. But what I think is interesting, I'll turn it back over to you, is he somewhere in the back of his psyche, he knows that guys like you and I exist, Mike. How's that?
Absolutely. He taunts people every day. He taunts the public, the media every day. He threw that out there after 7 years now. Why would you even bring it up?
Exactly.
What does he want to be, a comedian? You know, Peter, you're listen. Every time I'm on your show, your listening audience is really involved. They send me emails, ask me what they can do. Here's what they can do, Peter. I made a special announcement last week. You know all about my Sheriff kits. I mailed you one.
Mm-hmm.
That's how it happens. You ask me for a kit, I give you one. We're mailing out mass mailing, thousands of kits. The idea came up with Commander Kirshen. I don't know. I know you know Kirshen. Sure. I've been on your show together with Kirshen.
Yeah, that's right.
True Patriot, protectourliberty.org. And we really feel that this is going to make a difference. It's going to spark that little flame that needs to get going. And we're in the process of mailing them out. We're not going to release the name of the venue that's going to get it because we don't want to be cut off at the pass to say, because the Obots will do everything and anything to keep them in power. Period. Peter, this is pretty serious what we're talking about here. They're going to do any cutthroat thing they can to keep this information from coming out. So the mass mailing is going on right now. We're asking for any support we can get. You can go to my website and help out. I take every single penny out of my pocket. Commander Kirshner is the only other one that's taken money and directly helped me with aid, besides people that have given donations. And this thing will blow your mind, Peter, and your audience. You'll be one of the first to know when I release the information. But, however, it is under the way. And, Peter, I want to remind your audience of something. There's a gentleman named Tim that listens to your show every day. He called me up. He got a kit. I mailed it just the same way I mailed it to you. He went to his rep's office, who's now your state senator, Corey Gardner. I want you all, I'm going to name names, Peter. I'm not holding back anymore.
Please.
Corey Gardner has a kit. Corey Gardner had a briefing. Corey Gardner knows what the truth is. Why isn't he stepping up?
They won't. I mean, don't expect any. We had an incident here a few years ago where Congressman Mike Kaufman, who just won re-election, he beat this really ridiculous character by the name of Andrew Romanoff. Having said that, he was out in a sale barn or someplace out in Douglas County, I forget exactly where he was, and he made the comment about Obama, you know, the legitimacy of Obama. Channel 9 chased him down, and he rolled over. He had it, and he rolled over. But this is the same Channel 9 that we have sent many, many things to, videos to. There was this is an aside. There was a really cool young woman that got roughed up by a bunch of Hickenlooper's handlers, and Channel 9 wouldn't go near the story. We had Andrew Romanoff running away in a Prius from having these little illegals chalk up the sidewalk of Mike Kaufman. They wouldn't go near that, but they chased Kaufman down because he made a birther-like comment. And I think this scares these guys because, as you know, racer birther, birther racist in the politically correct Democratic liberal media world, that's one word. And you know it, and I know it. And it doesn't trouble me a bit because, you know, I know who I am. But the bottom line is birther, racist, learn to say that, racist birther. Mike, would you agree, in big media, that's one word?
That is the biggest word because that's the easiest way to cut us off at the knees. Call us racist.
Sure.
We hate him because he's black. Sure. We're doing this because he's black.
Sure.
It's the first black president. Give him a chance. Listen, Peter, look what he's doing to the country. There's a reason they're hiding his identity to keep him there so he can continue destroying this country.
Well, it doesn't matter, you know, win, lose, or draw. The story's not true.
It's not.
Yeah.
There's no. Think about his past. His past is very shadowy. Yeah. Think about his children. Where are the pictures of his mother wheeling them around, Michelle wheeling them around in the baby chair? Well, they don't exist because his whole identity is made up. You know, Peter, my kits evolved into the sheriff. My site evolved into the sheriff kit because when the sheriff came out with his news conference, they were supposed to be on Sean Hannity's show that night. Mm-hmm. Hannity pulled the plug, and you can hear on my universe-shattering video Mike standing at the podium saying, other media execs contacted him and said, Mike, we can't touch this. We're in fear for our jobs. We're in fear for our safety. We're in fear for our families. Mm-hmm. What does that tell you? When they get to the media in this country and say, guys, we don't want you to talk about this. Is this Russia or the United States? I'm confused sometimes.
See, I think what we're watching happen, and I mean, I do believe this, and I'm an old guy, I do believe it will out. Not necessarily while he still sits in the office, but it can't stay away. I mean, there are more and more and more people. Daily I hear from people where people will call the radio show. When I started talking about this, I don't know, 6.5 years ago, that the guy's story isn't straight, I got cartooned in the newspapers. I had columns written against me. I was called. And it wasn't, I mean, and, you know, and like I said, I got big shoulders. Hell, I can take a shot. It's okay. But more and more people began, and they would write me a note like, when I first heard you say that, I didn't believe you. And then on and on, but suddenly, you know what, you're right. He doesn't have the documents. It is fraudulent. These are forgeries. I mean, we were talking about, there's a couple really creeps here in Denver. One's named Michael Hutner, and there's Jason Saltzman. Actually, that'd be a cool book for you to, or a cool story for you to follow up on. But they did a book called Helping Barack Obama Change America, and they offered the first prize winner to their contest. They were written up in New York Times, Denver Post. I think they got some national TV with it. but they're offering a first prize of a round-trip ticket for 2 to the hospital that Barack Obama was born in. You did it on Martin Luther King's birthday, and you volunteered in Hawaii, but you got a tour of the hospital. Well, number one, there's no hospital to go to, as you know. But number two, they never awarded the contest. They never gave anyone the trip. That's Michael Hutner from Progress Now and Jason Saltzman. And anybody who knows them, you should just shun them. But I've said this 1,000 times. Imagine me running a radio contest where I promised people a cruise or a trip, and I never awarded the prize. What do you think they would do to me? Would they not prosecute me for doing that? Well, these two, Jason Saltzman, Michael Hutner, and Hutner's back in town. He was gone for a while. Saltzman, he's like an upstairs thief. I mean, nothing troubles him. But they're here, and they're operating. They're writing columns. They're contributing to the Huffington Post, and they're con men. They should be prosecuted for what they did. You know what? They're not, and I think part of it is because of the fact that a prosecutor like Mitch Morrissey, they're all afraid that they'd be called, well, Morrissey's ridiculous, but they could call birthers. You follow that?
How dare they do that?
Sure.
I'm surprised more people aren't up in arms.
Well, but they got away with it. They, honest to God,
Peter,
go Google them. Google, Jason Saltzman, Michael Hutner, helping Barack Obama change America, the contest. It's all still available on the internet. They're there.
Nothing surprises me anymore. For your audience, I want to be real quick about this. If they don't know, if they look at the videos that I produce from the Maricopa County Sheriff's Office, that birth certificate has got multiple layers, multiple typographical errors, information that just couldn't be possible. I'll give you one example. You don't have to be a forensic scientist. His race of his father is listed as African.
Yeah.
I'll give you an example.
Doesn't
African
exist.
did not.
Thank you.
Right. It's never Africa's a continent. It's not a race.
Well said.
I'm Italian. My father's Italian.
Yeah.
The race in my father's birth certificate says, guess what? Caucasian, not
right.
Italian. That would be the same, thing that Barack Obama is. It would say my father would be Italian. What does that mean? He's from Italy?
But remember this.
No, my father was born here.
But remember this. And I invented this character I call Jimmy Down the Hall. When they decided to manufacture a birth certificate, Jimmy is an incredibly gifted computer geek, but he's incredibly politically correct. Now, if you look at all the other birth certificates, they say Negro or colored. Jimmy can't use those words. Jimmy can't say those things. Jimmy has to say African American or black. The term black wasn't used, and African American wasn't in existence. So what does Jimmy do? Father's race, African. African is not a race. They just totally got away with that. And by the way, it's layered, as you point out many, many times. You can take that birth certificate apart like shredded wheat. It hasn't stopped anybody, has it?
Don't forget about the Selective Service registration form.
They rigged that.
They rigged that. They knew they had a problem. They didn't know how many problems they had. They thought we were dumb and stupid, just like Mr. Gruber says. I got news for you. He's dumber than the dark and night. Anyway, that Selective Service there, that was a freedom of information request that was put in. He was supposed to register for Selective Service in 1980 when he became 18.
But why didn't he do it?
Well, they panicked.
Why do you think he didn't do it?
There's many reasons. I don't think he was in the country at that
No,
time.
here's what I think. Didn't think he was telling people he was Kenyan. He didn't have to. You don't have to register. My understanding is you don't have to register if you're a foreign national.
That's correct.
So
I don't think he was.
That's my belief. I don't know, but I believe that when it came time to do this, it's like I believe he really does have a legitimate Social Security number, but it's one of those assigned in this country to a foreign national. I think he got it when he worked at Baskin-Robbins in Hawaii. I think he got an SSN. I think he got the set-asides. And when they realized that if you saw that Social Security, that card, that number, you would know that this guy was issued an SSN for a foreign national. I think as Selective Service, he said, I don't have to do this. I'm a foreign national. This was my game I was playing. And all of a sudden, when he was going to run for office, he thought, well, I better get one of these. And I'm not sure Bill Ayers' old lady, who knows how to make a lot of really great phony documents, as she did when they were all on the run from the cops for being in the weather factor, I think she made him an SSN.
You're right. Don't forget, he had to look very presidential during the first campaign. So by not registering for Selective Service, that would have been a no-no, and and everybody would have been all over it. So rather than just deal with it and say, well, we can't find it, whatever, what they did was they made up that phony card. They made it look like it was from 1980 when actually they took a 2008 stamp. Absolutely. They had to prop him up. They got scared. You know what? They did themselves in, Peter. They panicked. And they started thinking that the whole world was going to start looking at this, which they are now. At the beginning, only a few patriots were, but they really got into panic mode. You know, Peter, I want to thank the forger, because if he hadn't done that, and if the campaign hadn't done this, we wouldn't be here today talking about this. The best thing they could have done was not release that forged birth certificate.
But they had to, because between Trump and Jerry Corsi, and there was a rumble now that was coming. And I do believe that inside, I think Valerie Jarrett, perhaps, some of the other inner circle, they said, we better do something. And I think they turned it over, and they got it done. And when they dropped it, it was mother's milk to the big media. No one examined it. It was just, here we go. But let me do this. I need to pause. When we come back, give me 6 or 7 other things that don't jive. Our guest is great. He's one of the good guys in the fight. Evelyn is our guest. He's one of the guys who, I said Larry, listen to him doing Larry, another guy. Mike Evelyn is our guest, one of the many people that I have so much respect for, who tracks down, continues to try and expose the truth about the life of Barack Obama. We were talking about bouncing back and forth off the birth certificate, about the SSN. A couple of other things that come to mind for you. Mike, what else would you like to see the truth about?
There's a lot here, Peter. I have a big laundry list. I'd like to mention one other website your listeners should go to daily reporting, birtherreport.com, birtherreport.com. True Patriot, same thing that I do, gets the information out, doesn't charge a dime for anything. It's all coming out of his pocket. Some of the things that I have on top of my mind, let's see. Obama said he was born in Queens Medical Center, originally in Hawaii. Then he changed it to Kapolani, because Kapolani holds all the performs all the maternity births. Then we've got aliases, Barry Sotoro, and we've got an Indonesian named Sobakar. He went to Indonesia and did 5 years of school in Indonesia at the age of 5, and on his mother's passport it has that Indonesian name. He's using a Social Security number from the state of Connecticut, and figure out why. The numbers were issued geographically wherever you lived or applied at that time. No college records have ever been released. They've been hidden, dug up, burnt in a garbage barrel, whatever you may say. No one remembers him from his college days. We've got Chris Matthews. Chris Matthews originally said, and it's on the Universe Shadowing video, that Obama was born in Indonesia and had Muslim roots. Why would Chris Matthews say something like that? That's because Hillary was supposed to be the candidate. And then we have this reporter last Friday from Telemundo, Jose Diaz-Balart.
I heard about
who
this.
Couldn't even remember. Yeah, he couldn't remember where Obama was born.
Yeah,
he referenced Bill Ayers having connections with Obama. He couldn't remember. Let me go back to Kapolani. Every president that was born in a hospital has some sort of plaque or brochure. Kapolani does not. They refuse to acknowledge he was born there. I had a caller call into my blog show one night saying, Mike, what about, you know Yale, New Haven? I said, yeah, I know New Haven, Connecticut. Well, George Bush was born there. They don't have a plaque. So what did I do, Peter? I followed up on that. I told the caller to call back the next show. Guess what? They have a brochure saying George Bush was born in that hospital. That would be the biggest thing. The first black president born in a hospital in Hawaii, they would have a big plaque with flashing lights in front of their hospital.
When you call when you call those hospitals, which I've done, I haven't done it in a long time. I used to do it. They simply have no comment. That's their answer.
No comment.
And you're right, he has switched hospitals. And this is why, back to the Huttner-Saltzman, they should be prosecuted for what they did. And they're both activists today, but they should have gone down. I mean, I can't run a contest that doesn't have a winner. They did it. They used the First Amendment. They did it in the airwaves. They did it in television and radio, and they offered a round trip ticket for two to the birth hospital, the hospital where Barack Obama was born. Now, for all the money in the universe, Mike, and I would give you all the money. Can you name the hospital that Barack Obama was born in?
No.
Neither can I. But they said it. And that's, I mean, I swear to God, I mean, you should write a report maybe as part of your report on what these two con men did. And they're both very active in left-wing politics today. Huttner came back to town with a big load of money to go after the Republican Party, ran this broken wing by the name of Bob Beaupre for governor. He loaded up on Bob Beaupre with some really sleazy ads. But he's here. He walks around. He's, his mom's a prominent real estate woman, and he shows up at all the get-togethers, and the guy really is a criminal, truly. I mean, he ran a con. And it had to do with all of this. And so, yeah. They're out there. They walk around Denver, and they're deified by the left and the progressives. But what's the name of the hospital that Barack Obama was born in for all the tea in China? The answer is?
Nothing. We don't know.
That's right.
Donald Trump offered him $50 million to release his birth certificate.
Yeah. Actually, I thought it was it grades? Trump said, I'll give you the money to your choice of charities. Just let me see I think he wanted high school or college or whatever. He just wanted grades. And, of course, they satirically laughed at him. But, I mean, if you said to me, hey, Pete, I'll give you, we can give you $3 million and we'll give it to the charity of your choice. Let me see your high school transcript. I'd do it in 11 seconds. Why couldn't he do that?
They want to cover him up.
What it would say.
Cover up in our nation's history.
Sure, what it would say. What do you think who would he claim to be? I don't think he's worried about grades. I think he's worried about who he said he was at the time.
It would uncover his true identity, if they even exist.
Yeah.
If they even exist. Yeah. Nobody remembers him from Columbia. Look at Wayne Allen Root. Attended the same class at the same time. Never saw him there. He was propped up. Mm-hmm. He was shoved into Harvard like Khalid El Mansour, if you know who that is.
Yeah.
A lot of money was thrown into Harvard to get this man into Harvard, and he was the law school professor in Harvard, never published a paper, and they threw a lot of money at this to get this man to where he is today so they can destroy our country. And that's the problem today. And, yes, those two journalists should be prosecuted. Rather than get into a debate or rather than look at the truth, they're going to mock us.
Well, they did. I mean, they did. They mock, and then now they play this, and they're still out there. They're still critical, which I would never stop them from being, their First Amendment rights. Please say what you want to say, write what you want to say, but somebody should hold their feet to the fire for this contest. What they did, and they were lionized here locally and then when New York Times did it for them, and they did this big book, and the first prize was a round trip ticket for two to Hawaii, visiting the hospital that Barack Obama was born in. You did it on Dr. King's birthday, and you got to volunteer in a nonprofit in Hawaii. They never awarded the contest. They never awarded the round trips, and sure as hell never named a hospital.
Because it doesn't exist. They don't know where he was.
It may or may not, but who would know? I think a high degree of probability he may have been born at home. I don't know. He could have been born in Washington State. I don't know. I don't think he was born in Kenya. I don't believe that story. But the problem is when you don't know, then anything goes.
You spoke of Washington State. His mother attended college in Seattle 3 weeks after his alleged birthday.
Yeah, they went to Washington State. He was 10 days old. Where'd they get the money? Where'd they get the money to do that?
Let me give you the tenacity of the investigation that Mike Zullo did. Mike went to Washington, tracked down the babysitter. She was still alive.
Sure. Of course he's met her.
The babysitter.
Yeah, Jerry Corsi met her.
Yeah, and you know what the babysitter said? Oh, I remember him as a rather large child.
Yeah.
There's a difference between an infant and a rather large child, Peter. I'm sorry. A rather large child, not an infant. I mean, if you're 3 weeks old, you're this little cuddly thing and wrapped in a blanket. Not a rather large.
But she
child.
was there. But so Mike, she was there. She was there a while. I mean, this story that the president told I don't know, 2.5 years ago about being, I don't know, he was 3 or something, going to the airport to say goodbye to his daddy who was off to Harvard. That's a lie. I mean, it's a total fabrication, a lie. She never, if Senior, if the other Barack, as they call him, if he's actually the biological father, she never saw him again in her life. When Barack Obama meets Barack Obama, he's living in Hawaii with Gramps and Toot, and she's in Indonesia. I mean, if it was anything more than a one-night stand, or was it Frank Marshall Davis, who he does see a lot? And, I mean, these are great questions that, as you know, brother, they don't have any answers.
Nope. It's now turned into smear, and
sure.
Even today, they still joke about it, like you said earlier when you first brought me on.
Mm-hmm.
It's unbelievable. There's so much information here that would make anybody think about it twice. Wait a minute, that doesn't make any sense.
No.
Any one of the points that we mentioned here this morning would raise people's eyebrows, but they continue to stay on the narrative. And Peter, that's because they have to prop him up to keep him in office so he can continue to destroy our country, which shows you his background. The people that nurtured him and that he grew up with, they want him to stay there. They need him in this office because they hate the United States of America, and so does Obama.
Let me ask you a final question. I mean, maybe let you make some statements. What would you like to know? What would you like to know about Barack Obama's life?
It's not so much what I want to know about his life. I want the truth to come out. I want to show the people we've been defrauded. Want to remove him. And, Peter, you'll be surprised, I've been told, how many people in our government, top leaders, are well aware of this. I've been to Congress. Look on my website.
Of course.
I've had congressmen tell me to my face, Mr. Volan, we absolutely know we are powerless to do anything. When they told me that, I stood up in the middle of my presentation in their offices and I said, you have to be kidding me.
No, they've told me. I've had conversations with Congress people, senators, guys. Say, are you onto that? Oh yeah, nobody believes the story.
I really don't want to know anything.
No, and I was asking, why don't you do something about it? And they walk away.
They're chicken. We've got Alan Combs on there running around now. He seems to have brought it up again. I've invited him on my show many times for a debate, and I'll go on his show. No. But you know what? He's playing chicken.
No, of course he is.
And he doesn't want to hear the facts because he can't deal with the facts. I really don't want to know about Obama's history. It'll come out when this thing breaks. I just want the truth to come out, and I want everybody to see how we've been defrauded, how our money is stolen, our grandchildren's money is stolen. It's going to take a long time to get this country back.
It will be, and like I said, this is going to be, and it will happen. I mean, there isn't any question in my mind. I don't know the true life story. I really don't. When I get into conversations with people, for all the money in the world, a gun to my head, whatever it is, I could not tell you Barack Obama's true life story. But I can make this statement. The story that the mainstream media, books like Dreams from My Father, the rest of those stories, the narrative that Barack Obama tells is a lie. Now, what the truth is, brother, I don't know. But the statements that are being made are simply not true. Fair enough?
Absolutely.
All right, bro. If I don't talk to you, man, Merry Christmas to you, the Colonel, and everybody. And we'll, after the first year, we'll fire them up again. But you're the man. Stay on it. Mike, thanks for doing the radio show, man.
The only people who don't want to disclose the truth are people with something to hide.
Michael Valin is with us.